So today I'd like to go over a number of different options for Slant 6 valve covers. Okay, so over the years I've gathered kind of a collection of Slant 6 valve covers and thought might share some pros and cons with you guys, mostly because I am currently repairing a massive oil leak from this one. So this end of the scale, you have stock valve cover. Nice thing about these, they got good baffles inside, usually have their own oil fill, and then PVC valve and a breather. So this will go up to your air cleaner. They also have, retainers for electrical. I've moved most of this electrical over to the fender, so I wouldn't use this anyway. Other pros on these is they usually have the little notches for factory style valve cover gaskets. That kind of keeps the gasket in place as you put it on. Normally the Slant 6 is mechanical cam, so you end up adjusting them pretty regularly. Early models had cork gaskets, and the upgrade was to get the rubber gasket, which this car here has, along with copious amounts of silicone, which just causes more leaks. But anyway, this is off our Dart parts car. But yeah, still good one. Sometimes you need to use a little hammer and dolly to straighten up some of the mounting areas. People have over tightened them to get that to sit flat again and get good sealing on the gasket. Now our next upgrade is just chrome valve cover. This still has the notches for gaskets, so very compatible with factory gaskets. Same kind of problems you want to watch for these being bent here. They're also, in my opinion, a little thinner than the factory. This one I yanked off because it sliced me open a couple times trying to get it manipulated out from in this particular car because it has air conditioning. So that's quite a chore to get your valve cover or the whole valve cover off. Other downsides, this only has the 2 ports, so if you're running with this, a breather and PVC, you basically are pulling your breather every time you fill it. So when I got tired of the chrome one, I went to an Offenhauser aluminum valve cover. Now, this one is just supposed to have just a breather stuffed in here. I found a screw-in type cap that I managed to make work on there. Now, I've added a couple ports for PVC. This is PVC, and then this is where in front of the turbo actually pulls. So turbo intake, that way under boost there's still some vacuum being pulled on it. Now, this system works pretty good, but the problem is this thing keeps warping. So you might be able to tell some of the grind areas, and I know I did another clip here to show how on a head this is just rattling, it's so warped. So this would be the second time it's warped enough that it needs to be machined down. And so if I did it again though, this is very thin, even in the gasket area. Other downsides, these do not have the retainers for your gasket, but this one has a lip to actually hold it in place. Now, that would seem pretty positive. A factory style gasket or rubber, you're probably going to be cutting those ears off. But I've also had the gasket slide out and then cause more problems with these, so where it's partially out on this lip. So anyway, we're going to try something new, and hopefully this works because I spent good money on an Aussie Speed valve cover. Still a finned, much thicker in the flange area, but absolutely no retaining for any gasket of any sort. So I've got a crankcase sensor on the car now, so I'm pretty confident I don't pressurize my crankcase at any time. but still worried about that gasket moving a little bit. And this one also, well, I guess I shouldn't say also, it has the 2 ports just like your chrome or factory one does. So it still has better crankcase options than the Offenhauser. This is also baffled ports here, so you kind of fits a factory style gasket, and then there's a little bit of baffling to it. So hopefully this works better, and hopefully I'll get a chance to let you guys know if I like this.
So the Aussie Speed valve cover did fit better than Offenhauser, easier to get in, I should say. Either of these aluminum valve covers have a clearance issue on an air-conditioned car to its heater fan. They stick out of the firewall a little more, and some rubber isolators that are fairly thick. So when I had the Offenhauser, I initially rotated that down so the bolt would clear, and then I finally built my own rubber isolation to clear. And it also clears the Aussie Speed, but it seems like it's a little not quite as tall, and then it doesn't have that extra gasket lip to hang up with things as you install it. And this swap started because the oil patches you see on the ground, that's after one drive, so it definitely increased its leakage. You know, it's engine's designed in the 50s, it's going to leak some anyway, but anyway, the easiest way I've found a lot of times to try to track down crankcase issues is actually pressurize it. Now, I don't recommend this on just go do this on any engine, but this particular one I'm comfortable doing it on. I know what type of crank seals there are, things like that, and I know I'm not going to damage it if you keep extremely low pressure. So I use a pressure regulator more as flow restriction, and pressurized crankcase allows you to kind of grab a small hose or mechanics stethoscope, whatever your preference is, and go around and find where all your leaks are. The more you seal it up, the better the PCV system will work. So I also ran the car for a little bit and tried to look to see if the pressurized oil system was actually causing a problem, like had any of the sensors failed internally, because there's one oil pressure sensor for the computer and one for the dash, and that's on a junction block that also gives me the turbo feed line, and there was enough oil there that I thought maybe that was a possibility, but there was basically oil from on top of the valve cover bolts all the way down. But yeah, during this process I found the oil dipstick was leaking down at its base, so put a little thicker gasket in there. The one that was a little more surprising is I had bubbling coming up under shop air into the crankcase around the bolts for the valve cover. So that's kind of the first indicator that that valve cover wasn't sitting right, because those bolt holes are actually blind, so there's nothing but metal behind it. It's not like they're a through hole that goes into the crankcase. So I initially tried just adding some extra rubber washers, see if that would be enough to seal it up, but I still, even once I got those sealed, there was so once I got the valve cover bolts and dipstick and a few other small crankcase leaks that I found, ended up finding that the back of the valve cover had a massive leak. Somewhere in here you can kind of see that the firewall definitely had some oil residue to it, and that is why. This valve cover had warped so bad that there's no way, even with this high-end gasket, to get it sealed, and it was just time to come out, and luckily I was planning to swap to the Aussie Speed anyway. I was hoping to add a nicer fill spout to it before I did that, but I think we'll make it work. And thanks for watching.